wanna know what you, yeah, I wanna know what you want. My niggas gon' blow at you, yeah, my niggas gon' blow at you down.
Hey, and what's up, B+ gang? I almost didn't see you there crouching behind that dumpster. Today, for my good friends in the B+ gang, I have quite the treat for you all. So on this channel, we've briefly discussed the concept of industry plants in regards to the music industry. Usually, an industry plant is someone that is able to leverage their connections inside the music industry, usually through like nepotism or some other means, and they're able to skip the line when it comes to getting inside the industry, which is like notoriously one of the hardest things to do. For aspiring artists and creators, it can take years and decades even before your art is seen by someone inside the industry, let alone building a connection with that person. But a lot of that process can just be ignored if they're an industry plant. In general, going the industry plant route is kind of frowned upon by the public because for the members in the audience, it looks like the entertainment industry just handed over the keys to the kingdom to someone that really didn't earn or deserve it. Because of that, even when artists are industry plants in the traditional sense, that's not really information that the artist is willing to just make readily available or like just say out their mouths themselves. The truth of the matter of this situation is that most industry plants are literally just related to people that are already inside the industry. So it's not like they chose to be put in these specific situations. If it's much of anything, it's more pure dumb luck to be born into those circumstances so that you can meet all the right people at the right place and right time. Many artists will claim that they're 100% independent or self-made when behind the scenes they've already signed to a major record label. And this is all so they can appear a smidge more authentic to their audience and appear more relatable. All of this has really muddied the waters and made it really hard to decide whether or not certain people fit under this industry plant umbrella. But over in the podcasting space, I think we may have spotted our very first podcast host industry plant. Everybody, meet Bobbi Althoff.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I had questions to ask about.
Did you write them down?
No, I remember my stuff.
Okay, congratulations. You've been doing this for a lot longer. You're much older than me.
I'm 23.
You're not 23.
Okay.
I think we went over this when we did my podcast. You're like, what?
When you had all my information wrong, when you thought you knew where I was from and who I was dating and how much money I had and what car I drove and my age, and it was all off.
Okay, it's not my fault that no one actually cares enough to get that information right about you.
Jesus Christ, you're such a bitch.
So this new podcaster on the block, Bobbi Althoff, has been gaining a lot of attention recently because, quite frankly, she came out of fucking nowhere and she came out the gate swinging. You know, typically it takes even a good podcast a bit of time before it can get going and really solidify the vibe and production value, and you know, there proves to be a good thing going on. But on the other hand, you got our girl Bobbi, who just started off with doing celebrity interviews. And on her 4th podcast episode, she secured a little known artist by the name of, I don't know, fucking Drake?
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't finished there, okay? That's just where most people started to notice what was going on. Within the span of only 1 or 2 months, she would also get a podcast appearance from Lil Yachty, Tyga, millionaire Mark Cuban, and comedian Funny Marco. And did I mention Drake already? Because I still can't believe that shit, bro. At this point, people were understandably befuddled as to where in the hell this girl came from and how she had the audacity to come out on the podcast scene just going crazy like that. And obviously already at this point, the industry plant accusations were flying rampant. So I checked out a couple episodes, and from what I gauged, Bobbi's online persona is to be this like dry humor soaked parody of an interviewer. She doesn't prepare for any of these podcasts and is largely just playing a character, which makes for awkward and funny moments. You know, humor wise, this is somewhere up my alley. Like it's not the funniest thing in the world, but you know, sometimes it do get a little small giggle out of me, or the occasional nostril exhale. But I can totally understand when other people say that they don't understand or they just don't get the appeal of it. For many other people, it appears as though she is this disinterested person who doesn't even take the time to prepare for her own guests and lacks any defining character traits. When you're put in a situation where you have some of the biggest stars literally on the face of the planet on your platform, essentially carrying the content, things are just naturally gonna go that way. It acts sort of as this double-edged sword in a way, because while on one hand she's getting the validation and social proof from having these massive cultural figures on her platform, on the other hand it's the guests themselves that are pulling their own fans and audience to tune into Bobbi's podcast. A lot of these figures have been in the public eye for years at this point, in their media trained, so they're the one facilitating all of the heavy lifting and carrying the podcast conversations. For whatever reason, the industry machine has chosen this particular girl, and it couldn't be any more obvious when you decide to pair her up with some of the biggest names in all of hip-hop and like literal millionaires. That's kind of the thing that is the most aggravating about all of this, because it's just super blatant and obvious. I'm sure if you were to go in your fridge right now and take a sour grape and place it next to people like Drake and Lil Yachty and freaking Mark Cuban, that grape would probably blow up and become some sort of celebrity. And that's no knock to Bobbi, it's just really the honest truth of the matter. But to be fair, I don't think she's the one to blame for all of that. It's all on the part of the showrunners and the people behind the scenes, because they didn't care about creating an air of authenticity, and they have maxed out on all of the other attributes of the podcast that really don't matter. I'm sure for a lot of people, if their manager were to come up to them and be like, I want you to interview with some of the biggest stars on the planet and we'll hook you up with 4K cameras and high quality equipment, then most people would just go along with that deal because they just stand to benefit off of it. So now that we're a bit more familiar with the content, let's get into some of the details here. So who exactly is Bobbi Althoff? So from what I could gather, Bobbi is a 26-year-old influencer who started off as a TikToker who really blew up from making mom TikToks in 2021? Oh, okay. I gotta say, that's pretty weird. Like, I don't think I've ever seen someone blow up from mommy talk. There's not just moms out here flying out to Dubai and Cancun off a TikTok bag, you know? So to me, that was a little iffy right out the jump. Not saying that it's totally impossible, but you know, being a mom and a relatable person can only just go so far in terms of being your shtick. A little something I noticed in a lot of these early TikTok videos that no one is really drawing attention to is just how fucking nice her house is, dude. Like in all of these videos, she's in these rooms with like wide open, spacious areas, even before people really knew who she was. For the average 26-year-old, owning a house or even living in a house like this with all this like finished kitchen shit and brand new flooring, like this isn't the most feasible thing for a lot of us. Like in this economy, motherfuckers would be lucky if they get the lazy boy with the flat screen on the floor. So this was my first thing to clue me in that in some way, Bobbi financially had it made. I did some digging and I found out that she is actually married to a man named Corey Althoff, who is currently a software engineer and the vice president at CompTIA, which is like only the top company in the IT and tech field and the company that decides who gets certifications. So he's most likely a tech billionaire. When you check on his LinkedIn profile, it says that he's located in the Los Angeles metropolitan area, which is a notoriously expensive area to live. But on her podcast with Lil Yachty, she mentioned that she lived in Laguna Beach. If you look on Google for house listings in Laguna Beach, you're only paying above $1 million. I also recall while watching one of these podcast episodes that she mentioned her dad was working on the house of some famous person, so I wouldn't doubt that she like had access to these caliber of public figures for a long time now. Especially when on her TikTok, she would start incorporating her meeting famous people more and more. And she even posted a video of her meeting up with one of the Kardashians' hairdressers. So at this point, we've established that she's only married to one of the most influential men in the tech field, has a father with industry connections to the point where they trust him working on their houses, and they live in a nice house in LA, which is where a lot of celebrities live, which gives her access to the same social circles as some of the biggest stars. But even some of the biggest stars don't have Drake on their podcast. So how does all of this culminate in her interviewing Drake? From the way she tells the story, she really wanted to start a podcast. So she filmed the pilot episode and everyone she showed it to said that it was an awful experience. They said that shit was straight dookie buns, garbage, basura. Back it up, get out of here. And they also told her that there was no way that she would secure any more celebrity guests. Kind of weird that that's the thing you're concerned about on your first pilot podcast episode, but I digress. We all got different problems in life, clearly. It only got 6 views and my famous neighbor agreed to do an episode. Don't give up on your dreams ever. Bro, it's just crazy because even her origin story just sounds like a normal afternoon endeavor. Like there was no struggle or strife in there. Thousands of podcasters, you know, making new shows every day, trying new concepts, seeing what works and what doesn't. And all Bobbi Althoff has to do is go next door and knock on the door. But after she did the Funny Marco interview as her second or first interview, I'm not really sure, Drake would somehow catch wind of Bobbi Althoff, shooting her a follow on Instagram. And when that happened, she said that she would pursue to shoot her shot and just DM Drake to make an appearance on her podcast, in which he responded back saying that he was down. Which, if that did actually happen, then that would be the greatest Cinderella story ever. And for a while, that was the open and shut on this. This was all of the information we had to work with regarding her strange come up story. And I don't know about you guys, but that left me totally unsatisfactory with results. After all, plenty of celebrities would literally kill to be in this position, let alone industry plant someone that they know to get into this position. But still, I couldn't figure out what gives Bobbi the advantage over these other large platforms like Joe Rogan. You know, he's never had Drake on his show. He's had Kanye, but you know, he's never had Drake. How can she secure these caliber of guests? The answer to my question came from a place that I honestly expected at least.
You DM Drake right now, you're not getting a fucking answer. I don't care what you do. Like, you could be like, oh, I knit, I played soccer. You're not gonna answer. How does she get access to Drake? Who could be a middle person that Drake could even know that maybe she knows that Drake would respond? Because Drake is not responding to every woman. So she's signed to WME. I got my podcasting deal through being signed to UTA. I'm signed to UTA, which is a United Talent Agency. Pretty much every other big podcaster is signed to my agency. I'm being honest with you. UTA has a tight grip on everybody or anyone who's gotten a deal in the last 2 or 3 years in podcasting. An agency that's never had any fucking foothold in podcasting comes out with an individual that has the biggest guests. Everybody, include their big guests, including the biggest guest, Drake. Guess who they're signed to? WME.
There we have it. I think that put the final nail in the coffin into deducing exactly where this alien Bobbi Althoff girl came from. Her father is some kind of notable house contractor, and her husband is one of the most powerful men in the IT industry. This allowed her to be put in a situation where she was able to rub shoulders with the entertainment industry elite, enabling her to sign to one of the largest talent agencies in the world, WME, which then gives her access to their star-studded roster and talent, along with all of their connections. Some of the most notable names listed on WME's roster are Drake, A$AP Rocky, Frank Ocean, Sierra, Kid Cudi, the fucking Backstreet Boys, and Snoop Doggy Dogg, just to name a few. And they definitely have people that I didn't mention that are like massive, monumental figures. Now, I don't want to downplay any of Bobbi's talent or hard work, if she has any, because from the glimpses that she's shown into her actual personality, it seems like she is a genuinely like nice person and good person. We can't really decide the hands of fate that we're dealt in life. But in all honesty, if we're all being real here, like, you know, it's just me and you guys. Her hand in life to get to where she's at in the entertainment industry today has been on recruit difficulty mode, which is kind of like a little slap in the face to anyone that like has to do things the authentic way and build themselves up from the ground up with years of hard work and grinding. But sadly, that's just the way that things go in this industry. Some people will literally waste their whole lives just trying to get in the door, while other people literally have the door like propped open for them from the inside out. As a creative though, it's important to not feel slighted by any of these kinds of things because A, there's really nothing we can do about it, and B, we all have to work from our own individual starting points and learn for ourselves. While Bobbi doing good in the podcast industry is a good thing for her, I'm sure, her being an overnight success, so to speak, doesn't really benefit anyone to learn from it. You know, it's not a natural success story, so it's hard to say if even doing something like this will last long in the long run. Even if she happens to be getting millions of views right now in the moment, she has to do a lot of things to still build that foundation that she would have had to build if she did things the regular way. So it's not like she wins on all sides of the equation. Had she had built a legitimate podcast from the ground up, then she would have to worry about other things later on as well. So, you know, there's pros and cons to this situation. But anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video right here. But what do you guys think about Bobbi Althoff? podcast's first industry plant. Do you think I've done a good job at proving to you guys that she is an industry plant, or do you have your own take on the situation? Whatever it is, let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and maybe consider checking out another video of mine if you enjoyed this one. Anyways, peace out, guys.